Hello and welcome to my first ever video as Deldarius, the Dungeon Master. So, a request that I have gotten is to start maybe doing class guides, class reviews / race reviews, and how to best use them. So I'm going to start from the very beginning, Player's Handbook, and just start going through. Today, our episode will be Dwarves. So I'm going to start with races, and then I'm going to move into classes, but they'll lend towards each other, because I'll go back to the different races that I used for the different classes that I said for those races, so it'll be cohesive, that type of thing. So, bear with me here. Alright, so in your player's handbook, I will be going to page 18 of the player's handbook, but we'll be mostly focusing on page 20, since that has all the statistics and things like that. So dwarves, it is what you think they are. They are your average dwarves from, Lord of the Rings or anything like that. These are the dwarves you would think of. They are very good. Unfortunately, for some reason, I haven't really known many people, or at least that I've played with, that have ever really played dwarves, which is kind of unfortunate because they're actually really, really good. So, first off, when you choose dwarf, as a race, you get a +2 to your constitution bonus, or constitution score. Hands down, simplest thing. Like, you can't say no to that. Constitution is always a good statistic to have for any class, honestly. It's always good, because more hit points, able to take more hits. On top of that, if you're like a spellcaster or something, you could actually keep your concentration up for your spells or anything like that, especially if you get Warcaster. We'll get to feats later, probably in our class videos. But, things to, age. Dwarves are mature, same rate as humans, but they're considered young, but they're considered young until they reach age of 50. And can live to about 350 years. You're going to live for a while, so don't be afraid to be older. I know some people like, oh no, I want to be a younger person. I don't like seeing myself super old. You're playing a dwarf in a fantasy setting. No one cares. Like, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, honestly, I might just play a super, super old dwarf. Who knows? I'm not going to start character building or anything like that up until we actually start doing the class videos. But we'll get there. Okay, your alignment tend toward lawful, believing firmly in beliefs of well-ordered society. They tend towards good as well, with a strong sense of fair play and belief that everyone deserves to share in the benefits of justice and order. Very helpful when you're playing certain types of religious-based characters that kind of need those alignments, but it's not required, because that's something I always liked about 5th edition is there's no alignment restriction on classes, which is huge. I don't know about if there were alignment restrictions on races. I'm not so sure, but I know for a fact there was on races or on classes. Your size. Dwarves are between 4 to 5 feet tall and average about 150 pounds. Your size is medium. It's kind of unfortunate, but you gotta do what you gotta do. At least, yeah, you don't have to worry too much about that. More flavor thing. You're short. Compared to humans, at least. Your base speed. Your base walking speed is 25. Your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor. That's good to know. I never actually ever had to worry about players who had their speed reduced by heavy armor. We never really had to worry about that. But they lend towards being bigger and being able to have armor and things like that. More stuff on that later with certain abilities that they have, or certain things that they get. The 25 speed, it's a little on the annoying side, but there's a feat out there in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but we'll get to feats when we start doing our class videos. Dark vision, very important, very very good in every facet of the way. Accustomed to life underground, you have superior vision in dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it was dim light. You cannot discern color. In darkness, only shades of gray. It is very easy to forget what that means. So, in dim light conditions, you see normally. That's given. When in pure darkness, though, it's like dim light. Dim light means that you actually have disadvantage on all perception checks, which is something to always keep in mind for DMs or players as well. Always keep that in mind when it comes to dark vision in like pitch black areas. And be cautious about the humans in the party that don't have dark vision. Don't forget about us, please. Now to get some interesting stuff. Dwarven resilience. You have advantage on Constitution on saving throws against poison, and you have resistant to poison damage. Just good. It's always good. Not much else to say about that. You gain damage resistance. That is never something to say no to. Dwarven combat training. This is where we get fun. You have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, light hammer, and warhammer. So you get proficiency in weapons when you might be playing a class that doesn't use weapons. That's huge. That is a massive, massive buff to the way you're playing. Say you're playing a spellcaster who, like a wizard. Like I actually heavily thought about playing a dwarven wizard at one point. And you can still use weapons. It's pretty great. And then there's another dwarven subrace that is really helpful for this. Anyway, it's really nice. You get more weapons, especially when you're a class who doesn't get martial weapons, for example, because every single class for sure gets proficiency in simple weapons, so you can actually use something in combat. But other classes, but when it comes to martial weapons, not so much. But these give you some pretty good martial weapons, honestly. Like battle axe, light hammer, or battle axe and warhammer, super good in combat. I always love them. Tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with an artisan tool of your choice. Smith's tools, brewer's supplies, or mason's tools. More flavor stuff, unless you're in a game that's like heavy on roleplay or anything like that outside of combat, these are pretty useful. But Smith's tools, in case like weapons break down, brewer's kit, whatever. If you like drinking and stuff, go for it. I'm not so huge about it. We usually wouldn't worry about that. Mason's tools, it's helpful when you're like looking at architecture and stuff, but that comes in with stone cutting. Stone cutting. Whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill, and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. That is huge. And is very useful, especially in dungeon crawls or anything like that involve you guys having to go through areas, and it could bring a lot of insight into like the type of dungeon you're in, or what type of area you're going through, or anything like that. Could be useful for dealing with the villain that you might be dealing with, or simply just good knowledge to have. Lore is always good for a character to know, so keep that in mind. Very cool ability. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish. Yeah, you know Dwarvish because you're a dwarf. Subrace. Now we have some more where things begin to fall in place for different types of other classes. Hill Dwarf. The Hill Dwarf as Hill Dwarf you have keen senses, deep intuition, and remarkable resilience. The Gold Dwarves of Faerun in the mighty Southern Kingdom are Hill Dwarves, as are the exile of Nidar, and the debased Kalar of Kryn in the Dragonlance setting. I don't know what that means. A few of those I'm like, but hey, it works. Ability score increase. Your wisdom score increases by 1. So we'll get to that. Dwarven toughness. Your hit point maximum increases by 1 and increases by 1 every time you gain a level. There's nothing else I want to say about that, because that is always going to be good. You get an extra hit point no matter what. It's basically increasing your constitution by 2, but not. On top of that, you get a +1 to your wisdom. Still really decent, It's not as good as Mountain Dwarf, which we're about to get to, but yeah, I'll go over the two of them and different classes that'll work for both. So, Mountain Dwarf. As a Mountain Dwarf, you are strong and hardy, accustomed to a difficult life in rugged terrain. You're you're probably you're probably on the tall side, and tend for a dwarf, and tend toward lighter coloration. The shield dwarves of northern Faerun, as well as the ruling Hyar clan and the noble Dewar clan Dragonlance, are mountain dwarves. So, for example, Gimli from Lord of the Rings, for example, he's a mountain dwarf. Ability score increase. Your strength score increases by 2. No other race gets two ability scores. None of them. I have not seen another class that isn't homebrew, that is officially put up by Wizards of the Coast, that doesn't have that. That is huge. And then you have proficiency with light and medium armor. Also really good, and why I wanted to play a Mountain Dwarf Wizard, so I could actually fight in combat. Or you could actually have armor on, instead of not having armor and having to rely on mage armor. That is huge for any class, honestly. Like, fighter classes are like, go through the roof with Mountain Dwarf. It's super good, and I have yet to play one for some reason. But yeah, things to keep in mind while playing a dwarf. You're a dwarf. Be a dwarf. Always have fun. I think dwarves and elves are like one of those races where it's like, how can you complain about them? You're in a fantasy world, and they're like the 3 staple races of anything when it comes to fantasy. Yeah, I honestly have a blast playing a dwarf. Things to do, of course, but we'll see about that. Whether or not they're the best class for certain, or best race for certain things, there's always better classes out there, or better races. It all depends on what you're doing. Something to keep in mind always with Dungeons & Dragons is you're not restricted to anything. It's completely you. It is completely up to your choice. There are also Durgar, but I'm going to stick to Player's Handbook for these set of videos. And then maybe I'll do another videos down the road about the different other things like that. But yeah. So, when it comes to Hill Dwarves, for example, their classes may vary. Anything that's wisdom based. So that would mean rangers or druids or clerics. They make awesome clerics. I have yet to have one, but I can just imagine a awesome cleric with a warhammer and everything. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah. And then Mountain Dwarf, like I already said, fighting base classes, so that's fighter, barbarian. Barbarian would actually be huge because he gets +2 to Constitution baseline, and the resistance to poison. Resistance anytime for any classes like that are huge. But yeah. But yeah, that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you want more. Next video should be Elf, but that may be a few days from now, from the time that I'm posting this video. But yeah. Anything that you guys want me to do specifically, please put down in the comments down below. If you want a link to any of my Twitter or anything like that, down below. But yeah. Anything else you guys want me to do, please let me know. And I'll see you guys